everyone, welcome to another video learning Windows PowerShell in our channel Telugulo Telusko. In this video we're going to talk about advanced topics of regular expression. So in the previous video we did discover some basics of how regular expression works and how to create patterns, and we just started with some building blocks in the previous video. So if you haven't watched the previous video, I definitely recommend you to go ahead and take a look there, because those are the fundamentals that you need to be familiar with to get well versed with this concept. So in this advanced regular expressions, we are going to use some capturing techniques, and also we need to discuss about other couple of operators which PowerShell supports regular expression. So in the previous video we did see the match operator. The match operator is actually doing a regular expression matching, but there are other two operators in PowerShell which can do regular expression matching, the replace operator, and we also have select string, which is a commandlet. So we are going to discuss these two things in this particular video. So let's go ahead and open my lab environment. So let's open a PowerShell console right up front, very fresh. So in the previous video we just created an email address, for example david.good at contoso.com, and then I created a pattern to see whether my email address is matching that pattern or not. So wordpress with backslash wordpress at and literally at on contoso.com. So if you are not sure what this means, go to the previous video please and watch what exactly I mean using these patterns here. So when I hit enter, $matches is going hyphen match is an operator in PowerShell which is doing the comparison whether the left hand side string is matching the pattern that I have created. Yes, it just returns true, but it doesn't return what exactly it matched. So if I want to see what exactly it matched, I need to go to the $matches variable, and I can see that it matched the complete email address. And I have a problem here because when I put some integer values in here, it still matches the pattern, and if I go back to the matches and see, it also matching the numerics 1 2 3, which I want to avoid. So I suggested you to go ahead and use character sets just to stick to alphabets. So this is how I created a character set in the previous video. So A to Z. So in this context the PowerShell is going to ignore any integers. So if I put in something like this, I get a false because my pattern is created not to accept any integer values. So 1 2 3 in this particular context is actually making the string not eligible for the matching. So this is how far we approached till last video, but the important point here to understand is this $matches. So $matches is an automatic variable in PowerShell, and we did discuss that in the last video. It is going to store the last previous match it has done. So in this case it has matched David123 at contoso.com when I actually used the pattern with the wordpress, right? This pattern actually is what last matched. So that is the output that I have in this console, in this particular console right now. So the point is, let's assume that you want to do multiple captures. So what is the use case for this? For example, let's say you are hosting a website, for example, and as soon as your website launches, you are accepting registration. So once a user types in his email address in your organization, you just want to use the official first and last name which are documented in the email address. So you can capture that piece of information and use it for the first and last names. So let me just demonstrate what I mean. So in this particular pattern what I've created, so when I do a match, I get a true. So in the matches variable I just have the email address. Now this is not that useful, but what if I want to do multiple things, which means I want to capture first name separately, last name separately, and also the complete email address separately. Yeah, in that case what you can do is you need to put those captures in something called as parenthesis. So when I put these captures in parenthesis, let's say what it means. So here \w plus representing the first name, right, any number of word characters. So I kept that separately in capture reference, which is the uh, uh, curly, which is the braces, I mean this one, the parenthesis, and this is actually doing the second match, which is for the last name. So I kept that individually in a parenthesis. So now when I hit enter, I get still true, but when I go back to matches variable, you can see that my first name is captured separately, second name is captured separately, and the complete email address is captured separately. And also I can do that, for example, to the domain name, right? If I want to capture the domain name completely, what I can do is I can put those things in completely in a parenthesis. So I get a true value. If I go to matches, as you can see, the domain name is also captured completely into the matches variable. So now what I can do is I can use this first name and this last name and this domain name for my registration, and I will avoid user giving a first and last name like a pet name or a short names or something. I can avoid those, and I can make sure that I'm using these capture references to use it as a first and last name as per the email address provided by your organization. So this is one of the neat tricks, but as you can see, this is not that easy for me to refer, right? Because it is in some name column, it has 1 2 3, it was sequentially arranged for some reason, but it was not that that easy for me. For example, if I put this expression into something, when I execute this, and then now if I see in dollar matches, I have this information. So if I want to refer to first name, maybe I need to use the index number of matches. 1 is David, matches 2 is the last name, matches 3 would be my email address. So that's how actually it works. So it's not really that useful for me to use this matches variable. I need to refer the index number, because this is an array is a collection of items. So in that collection, if I want to refer to the first item, I need to start with 0, and the second item would be 1, and the third item would be 2. So array always starts with the index 0, right, and it starts with 1 2 3 again. In that particular order it will be arranged. But is there anything better that I can do? Yes, absolutely, I can do something which is better than that. So let's go ahead and see. We can we call this as captured named captures. So what I can do is I can give some name here, first name, and I, in this particular parenthesis, I start with a question mark, in quotes I put something called as last name. So let's see what happens. So I get true. When I hit matches, you can see now the index is neatly organized. The first name is David, the last name is Kuta, and I can also capture the complete thing if I want, right? I can put this complete thing in quotes, which is the pattern for email address, and I can name this as email, for example. Now if I go to matches, I can see that email is David, last name is this, first name is this. So I can do this sort of named captures, and it is extremely useful when you're capturing some information using regular expression matchings and patterns. So that's how you do named captures. So always remember to keep the part that you want to capture in parenthesis so that it captures that information, and if you want to name it, use this question mark and then give the name that you want, and you can enclose everything in a parenthesis so that the captured gets named, and also the capture part will also be saved. So this is one of the neat approach. And the next operator that I want to talk about is replace operator. So let's say if you have, I use a name something like this. So here we have first and last name. So I want to make this first and last name into a last and first name for some reason. For example, you have multiple users with first and last names as a strings. You have multiple usernames and you want to create a pattern to replace them with the last and first name. So let's see how we can approach this. You can use the replace operator for this approach, and in replace operator I want to do a pattern first. So I will give word plus and then followed by a space and then word plus. So this is what my pattern looks like, right? It's a first name which is number of characters. So I have capturing the number of characters right here, and then it has a space, so I represented a space, and then it has again the last name has number of characters, so I have that particular information in the pattern. So now I want to capture this first and last names, so I put them in parentheses. Right? So now they get captured. So when you capture the information using the replace operator, the captures are stored not in dollar matches. No, this information is not stored in dollar matches. Only when you use dash match, those captures are stored in dollar matches. But when you use the replace operator, those captures are stored in something called as capture references. The capture references is like $1, $2, $3, depends on how many number of captures are doing. Here I am doing two captures, first capture, second capture. So the first capture goes into $1 and the second capture goes into $2. So $1 is not a variable in this particular context. $1 or $2 is not a variable. It is called as capture reference. That works only when you use the replace operator. So remember, so when you use the dash match operator, the capture reference stores in dollar matches, and then when you use the replace operator, the captures are stored sequentially in $1, $2, $3. How many number of captures you do, that many number of these capture references gets created, right? So now see, let's what I mean by that. So now I'm capturing the first name here. So the first name goes into $1, and I'm capturing the next part, which is the last name. So the capture information goes into $2. So now if I say replace with, always you will have a comma in this syntax after the sequence. Replace with, I need to replace with last and first name, so I use $2 and then I will give $1. So let's see what happens. So I get nothing, just because a problem here is I use double quotation marks. Double quotation marks thinks $2 as a variable. It doesn't think it is a capture reference. And similarly the $1 it thinks as a variable, and it looks for $2 and $1 in variable drive, which is using the get dash variable. It doesn't find any information in those variables, and it will not return any information. These are capture reference, so you need to always put them in single quotes. That is one of the biggest mistakes that people tend to do. So when you see here, my first and last name got in a reverse order, so I got the last name and then the first name. So this is how the captures are stored in these variables, in these references, $1 and $2. So if I did multiple captures, for example, if I would have captured \space as well, let's see what would be the output. What do you think is the output going to be? I am assuming it's the space character. After that I will have the first name. So as you can see, it's the first name. I'm having a space here and I have the first name, because $2 now has the space character, because this is the second capture I'm doing. So this is the first capture, space is the second capture, and last name is the third capture. So now I'm using $2, $1, so I have a space character which is in $2, and then $1 has the first name, so I have the first name David right here. So this is how the capture references works in replace operator. So this is one of the tremendous operators that you can use to replace a bunch of strings very easily. It's normally going to take a lot of time for you to replace them individually. Maybe you can use Notepad++ to do a Control H or something, but the point is that takes a manual effort, and this is just something looking at the pattern and creating whatever the pattern you like. So that's how it actually works, the replace operator. Do not ensure that you do not keep these capture references in double quotes like here, because double quotes thinks this as a variable and it will look for the variable drive to see what is there in that particular value. So that's important. Now the final operator I want to talk about is the select string. Select string is a commandlet, it's not an operator, so which means it has a verb and noun pattern, so it's a commandlet. So what exactly select string is designed to do? So if I want to know more about select string, I will go ahead and type select string hyphen full, get help select string hyphen full. So if you read the documentation of select string, the select string commandlet searches for text and text patterns in the input string and files. You can use it like grep in Linux or Unix, and find str in Windows. You can also type select string, or its alias is SLS. So SLS is shortcut for select string. And if you see, there will be when you say pattern, the pattern is generally talking about the regular expressions pattern. So I can use select string using some sort of pattern. So let's say I have a particular file in this particular location. See new folder, my codes log exe. So this is my web server log, right? My web server has a lot of information which is logged into the log file in terms of who is logging in, from which IP address. If you see that information, there will be a lot of text you need to scroll through in Notepad, and there is no decent way of searching for that information you're looking for. But let's say, for example, your website is being attacked by someone, and you are actually trying to find in the log files what is the IP address of that intruder who is actually attacking your web server. So when you want to use your log files to investigate that, select string is one of the neat ways that you can actually parse that information and look for a specific pattern or email address that you are looking for. For example, when I say select string hyphen pattern, an IP address always starts with a digit, right? An IP address always starts with 0 to 9, right? So it's a digit, and an IP address always in the length of maximum 1 to 3 in the first octet, right? So for example, if you take 192.168.0.0, each octet can have maximum of 1 or 3 digits, not more than that. The maximum that you can have is 255.255.255.255, so which means 3333, or you can have something like 1.2.3.4. the minimum is 1 in this particular scenario. So each octet can have maximum of 1 or 3 digits, so I can represent that using 1 comma 3 in curly brace. Now when I want to search for this pattern, I can give the log file path. So this is not a complete IP address, this is just one piece of the information. I can add multiples by creating one more pattern like a \t and then give one more 1 2 3 so on. So I can do that for the complete IP address. But let's see what I'm going to do in this particular context. So C new folder, and then I want to go ahead and look into this C new folder and then a particular my log file, and when I hit the return key, it gets me all the information on the text, whatever is there on the text which is matching that pattern. So each and every line has an email address, So this is one complete line in that particular log file. So it has this pattern matching, which is starting with an IP address pattern. So this information is actually showing on the console, but this is not that useful. For example, let's say this particular IP address 149 is the IP address of the intruder you are looking for. So let's say when I go ahead and grab that information from that log, I can put that in the pattern directly. Now when I hit return, you can see my log files is showing just the information that IP address consists of. You can see 149, 172, 138, 41, 142, 179. So I can also use the dash list parameter in which file it is actually showing. So I can see that my code.log file has this entry at line 5. So this is how actually the select string is going to look for multiple different files and then get the pattern matching done for you, and it will actually show you the content that is matching your pattern that you have created. So using select string. So regular expressions, again, as I said, is a little complicated in terms of how they work or how they look, in fact, because they use special characters, special sequences. So it's some sort of always needs some documentation. So always go to get help and about regular expressions, or you can always look into your favorite search engine to find what exactly the regular expression pattern you are looking for. So you can see here there is a lot of things that we have discussed: the word characters, and then the space characters, the digit characters that we have talked about. We talked about this specifies one matches, capture reference used question marks. We also used this curly braces 1 comma 3, which means how many number of characters you want to match. So specifies an exact n number of matches, specifies at least n matches, and when you specify n comma n, it specifies n but not more than m. So this is what we have used 1 comma 3, which means less than 1, minimum 1, maximum 3. This means minimum at least 1 character, and this is minimum it is just exactly an n character, which is whatever number of characters you want. So that's how you can actually specify the information. So there is a lot of documentation in the PowerShell, and also you can always go back to your favorite search engine to look for more help on regular expressions. So with that, we end this topic regular expression right here. If you feel comfortable with regular expressions at this point, well and good. If not, you may need to dig a little more deeper in terms of how these things works within PowerShell by looking for some online help. If not, please do let me know in the comment section. I will try to make another video with more and more decent examples for make you comfortable with regular expression. This is not very widely used in our codes, but yes, it is a good thing that you know that we have something like a patterns that you can create in regular expression, using regular expression, and then match some piece of text, and it will be helpful at some point when you write your codes. So that's it for this video. If you like my video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. It will really encourage me to do more and more videos for you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.